dancing day and night.
Have you ever tried to teach a group of 4 and 5-year-olds dance and movement? Now, it can be complete chaos in a classroom. There's music going on, there's movement all over the place. You've got kids climbing up the wall, or even worse, you've got kids that are just staring blankly at you. So this could be the video for you. I'm going to share with you some hacks and some strategies that my team and I use every single day in preschools and kindergartens, and for that age group of 4 and 5. So stick around and see if I can help you make those sessions, those dance and movement sessions, joyful, focused, and no chaos.
Shake it left, shake it left, shake it right. Silly, silly sausages dancing day and night.
Just a little bit about me. My name is Josh. I am the co-founder of a company called Move for Life that does education dance for schools, predominantly kindergartens and primary schools. I'm also the co-founder of the Moververse, which is the channel that you're on at the moment. So let's talk about engagement. This is the absolute foundation of your class, and keeping those kids focused and letting them understand the content and where you're going with everything, and just keeping them on your side, basically. So, okay. First thing I need to do in this group, with this group, is talk about things that they can relate to. So my first go-tos all the time are things like food, animals, colors. I need relatable vocab. Things that we use every single day that kids know of: bananas. For some reason, if we need to do a stretch and we've got to go up into the tree, bananas straight away. Apples. Easy things like that. You can use anything that these kids know about that they might have in their lunchbox, the color of their lunchbox. They probably got like lions and tigers, animals everywhere. So you can use these things to prompt any kind of movement, which then takes us immediately to movement. So let's link those two things up as well. So movement based on vocab. Okay, so these two things are going to allow me to, one, also with my group as well, if they're using certain language and I know about some of the language, like I've had a group once that thought grapes were great. So we use grapes all the time in this class because 2 or 3 kids just loved grapes and everyone else just thought it was hilarious, so I could keep those guys engaged the whole time. So we would do stretches where we would reach up into the cupboard and grab those grapes and reach up into the other cupboard and grab those grapes, or we'd look at throwing grapes. These are big movements as well. Or we could go down and we can pick the grapes up from the ground as well, depending on exactly what you need. You can also turn them into other things, like bouncing grapes. If you want to go into jumping, holding your grapes in one arm while one leg goes up, you can manipulate it however you want, really. But the idea is to use words and things that they know about, that they really, really enjoy talking about, and they can relate to it immediately. They have a picture in their head straight away. Other things like animals. Animals are so good for movement. So, I mean, being Australian, kangaroo jumps are absolutely fantastic. Getting them to use their legs and their ankles and building up that leg strength. Also things like flamingos. Now, flamingos are known for kind of balancing on one leg. So we do a lot of work where we get little ones especially to walk around on one leg. So one leg up, flapping their wings, and see how they can hold their balance. Things like that really allow us to connect with kids, and they really enjoy the process. And you can talk about other aspects of each of these things that you can talk about. This is my flamingo. That's my flamingo. You can talk about what color the flamingo is. You can talk about how strong their legs are, but how they don't even look strong because they're quite slim, the legs. You can talk about the wings and how the wings help them balance and things like that. So Making the vocab work with the movement straight away is super duper important. When I'm talking to these kids, it's very important how I talk to them. So I'm going to use vocab that is fairly simple. I'm going to base the movement on the vocab that's also fairly simple, but I need to make sure that they feel as though there is an importance attached to it. So I want to make sure that it's nice and clear. So let's talk to them and not down to them. We're not going to baby them. We're going to talk to them fairly much like adults with a hint of narration. Yeah, so we want to be larger than life, but we'll go into that in a second. But we need to be clear, we need to be concise, and they need to get it. What we don't want to do is baby it up too much, so these guys think that they're in a baby class. So there is this notion in 4 and 5 year olds that they have been told that they are not babies anymore, and certain things are not okay for babies, so they don't feel like babies. They're getting close to being in primary school, and so we need to talk to them like they're almost there. Now, I did say narration was a key factor, so when I'm taking these classes, I do feel as though I do have a slight character that comes on. The character is very direct, but he's very funny. He's a little bit sassy, and enjoys a little bit of banter with them, but very, very direct and keeps the class kind of flowing. So I'm going to say narration is a big key there. Now, I'd say one of the most important things that I've learned over the years is our volume and our tone. So I'm going to say volume, and I'll also say tone here as well. Sorry, that looks like an M, but it's not. So my volume in the class, I have to pick it up. These guys can tend to talk over you sometimes if they want to ask a question, so it's really important that I make sure that I am the loudest, most important person in the room so they can all stay connected with me. I keep the personality up, I keep the narration style up, so that everyone feels that I am something to be drawn to within the class. I do change the volume of my pitch as I'm going along, so I might say something very, very important, and then I'll finish by saying something very, very quiet here. So they're taken on a little bit of a journey with the tone and with the volume, so that they are prompted to click into what I'm saying. So they kind of need to, it's almost like they need to work a little bit harder to stay with me because I'm making it interesting for them as well. So dropping the volume down at times and whispering is actually really, really effective to get the class kind of chilled out. But then sometimes you just need that volume to make sure that you are the biggest thing in the classroom at the time. So all these things together for me really help me and help the team get these kids engaged and focus through the whole class. Now, engagement is great, but engagement is no good if you don't have any structure in the classroom. So let's talk about structure. Structure is super important to keep the kids feeling like they're in a safe environment. So, structure equals safety. Now, when I first started working with kids about 10, 15 years ago, I thought that it was my role to kind of go in there and give them really joyous experience, and so I let things go a little bit, to be honest, and I didn't provide them with enough structure and boundaries, and I did find that classes fell apart. It was just too loose, and then when I finally did come around to going, okay, I'm gonna provide a lot more structure like I would do with my older kids, then they responded so much better. And some of them, I remember one class that I was teaching, and I went in there and I was like, right, that's it. I'm going to be really clear about everything, like strict, let's say strict. And the response from one of the kids who was acting out before, who I then had to pull into line a few times, she was like, oh my God, I really, really love this class now, Mr. Josh. And I was like, okay, so lesson learned. I needed to provide structure so that she felt safe within the class, because what I feel was that she was competing for chaos. So there was chaos energy being thrown around, and she was competing for that chaos energy. And as soon as there was structure, everyone kind of pulled back and calmed down, and she didn't feel like she had to compete for it anymore, and she felt more relaxed in the class. Epiphany, amazing. So first thing I'm going to say, if you've got a class of 10 to 15 plus kids in a class, you need to set some physical boundaries. So, Physical boundaries are safe spaces. Now, what I mean by physical boundaries is using spots on the floor, making sure they're on their spots, having a stage that they can go to, or even having a wall that they can go sit on that works as a bit of a base. So going back to that base all the time. That kind of structure in the room, especially lines, if they're in lines, they're in one flat line. If you've got a smaller class, that's great because on the peripheral, they can't really see what's going on and they're focused completely on what's happening in front of them, which is the teacher. Also, what it does allow you to do in some of those dances where you're moving around is that you can space it out, especially if you do have access to spots. Spots are fantastic, I can't go on about them enough, is that you can set physical spaces for them to dance around in and not be hitting anyone else. So they learn that this is their space, that's their space, and we try not to go into it. And if we do, then we can kind of talk to them about why we shouldn't be doing that. Obviously, you're going to hit someone or bump into someone. So physical boundaries are safe spaces for me in a classroom. Okay, let's talk about behaviour. First thing I want to do when I walk into a classroom is make sure that I set expectations. And I'm setting expectations about behaviour. Okay, so setting expectations about behaviour is coming in and saying, actually, this is what I need for this class to work. You might be talking about putting your hand up as you talk. You might be talking about the volume that is used in the classroom. You might be, because let's take into account, we're also going to put music on in a second. So there's going to be extra noise in the classroom. You can't have complete chaos with kids screaming and yelling and music. It just becomes a bit mental. Also, physical space as well. Like this is the expectation that you'll stay on your spot or you will go back here when I asked you to do it. And if you don't do that, then I would be very unhappy and you might have to sit out for this particular piece. So, also just letting them know what the repercussions are if they don't follow instructions. You need it to be a joyous experience, but you also do need to set these really, really clear boundaries right in the beginning. Also, things like when you're using props, how you use props, make sure that kids aren't hitting each other, that they're very aware of what's going on. You will probably have a few situations where they may kind of grab it and they may try and whack another child without intent, but you also need to pull them up on that so that they understand what the boundaries are with that kind of action as well. So setting expectations about behaviour creates order. And the classroom, just like society, needs order. Now let's talk about consistency on messaging. This is really, really important. Sorry about the writing. I think I've spelled that wrong. Sorry guys, dancer. Consistency on messaging. So I need to make sure that in my dance classes, I'm really clear about, so situations that we come across every single day is kids not staying on their spots because they either they lose focus or they're wandering or they might even have special needs as well. It's really, really important to be consistent about them going back to their spots, and even if you have to physically guide them back to their spot to make sure that they stay there, then we also do that as well. Keeping the volume at a certain level, how to use props, how to use your space, not hitting people, and also obviously giving your best in the class as well. The best thing about consistency is that it helps students understand. So consistency about messaging is consistency about learning. Sorry, I'm used to typing. So students are going to pick things up easier if you're consistent. So if every single class you're making the structure really nice and clear, and even going back to the actual lesson and what you're doing, what you want to do, especially in dance classes, is you want to make it fairly repetitive. If you're only doing it for, let's say, a 4 to 6 to 8 week block, it's probably only once or twice a week. So you want to make sure that the messaging is really, really consistent the whole time. They know what is expected of them every single time. And also when it comes to the types of movements and the warm-ups and the exercises that you're doing, you need to make sure that it's super consistent every single time so they know what to expect and they can actually deliver it. Changing it up only works if you're going to do it every single day. And then you would probably need to change it up every 3 or 4 days maybe. But if you're only doing it once a week, then I would keep that lesson almost identical every single week, because at this age, they really, really enjoy the familiarity. And also the consistency in these expectations will make those classes work so smoothly into the second one already. Now, let's talk about kids that are disinterested or acting out because they have no interest in the dancing. The best thing that I could say is remove those uninterested people from the environment. So, now I'm not saying remove them completely, but I am saying sometimes kids it's their first time that they've danced in class and they're finding it a little bit odd. They might not have any dance experience at home, or maybe they just don't gel with dancing, which is totally cool. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to force them to do it. You want to set them aside. You want them to see how much fun everyone else is having, and you want them to make that decision to kind of come back in. What you don't want to do is you don't want to punish them with dancing. You don't want to say, if you don't do this, I'm going to make you dance in front of everyone. That's a fail, because now you have demonized dancing, and it's something that they're going to hold as a punishment in their head. So what we need to do is actually remove them from the situation. This also goes for bad behavior as well. So, you know, kids that are just intentionally acting out, pull them aside. Don't let them enjoy it, because dancing is a privilege. And so this is where we go into this, is that dancing is... It's very awkward on this angle as well. So dancing is a privilege. Dancing is something that is super energetic, it's super joyous, it's a great learning occasion, and especially in a classroom when you've been sitting down writing all day, or you've been doing stuff that's very sedentary, dancing is an absolute gift. It's a bonus. So we need to make sure that they understand that it is a gift for them. And if they're not interested, that is fine, but they need to be removed so that they don't cause any problems. Or if they are uninterested, then they can be removed so they can absorb the rest of the room and see how amazing it is, and then actively want to participate in it. So how do we add in the structure and the engagement and keep things fresh? Well, that's where timing comes in. So let's talk about how we can time this perfectly for 4 and 5 year olds. The attention span is pretty short, so you want to keep it fast and fun, but you also want to achieve the things that you need to achieve in the class. So now, timing is super important. I would say with this age group, you don't want to do anything, 5 minutes is heaps. I would say anywhere from 7, maximum 10. Like 10 is the most time you want to spend doing one thing. And if you are going to spend 10 minutes doing one thing, then you do need to break it up within that 10 minutes as well. And I'll explain a little bit more about that. But that's heaps. That per topic, per technical drill, per heaps. So let's break that down even further, because what we're gonna do is I'm gonna give you like 45 minutes of a class. So let's look at 45 minutes as a whole, and see if we can kind of construct that for you. And then of course you can move those components around and you can play with it however you want. So 5 minutes of seated warm-up. Now this is sitting crisscross applesauce legs, this is doing some stretches up to the sky, this is going into butterfly, this is stretching your legs out front, wiggling your toes, making sure that you have nice pointed feet. What else could we do? Aeroplanes, you can pretend you're an aeroplane. Moments where you can engage them. I would do everything at least 3 times. So if you are doing stretches up, you do 3 stretches up into the trees, to grab the apples, and then you can bananas, then you can go for fruit salad. Flying the plane, do a count. You could either count to 10 of those, so you're actually getting like a few repetitions in on each side. That 5 minutes, more than 5 minutes, you're overcooking it, and the kids are going to start to disengage. Once you've done that, you want to get into a dance warm-up. So something that you've already constructed. We've got one called the jump jiggle, and it's perfect because, especially for this age group, we use it for anywhere from 2 to 5 years old. It's easy because they're jumping and then they're wiggling or jiggling, and they're poking bubbles, they're marching, and also it's got an element of silly. I can't stress enough how important that is, especially for a warm-up, keeping it nice and easy for them and entertaining for their minds. So fun, easy, repetitive, and it needs to be a goer. It needs to be something that really, really brings them to life in the dance class and they look forward to. More than 5 minutes of that, you can show them how to do it for a couple of minutes, and then after that, music needs to go on. We need to start this dance class. We've done our first 10 minutes. Great, we're doing well. Now we want to go into tech time. Let's get into tech time. We want to spend max 10 minutes on tech time. Now, let me teach you about tech time. Talk to you about tech time. So tech time essentially is, let's just say you have standing on one leg as one of your indicators, or which is related to balance, or it's about endurance or agility where you're kind of jumping and things like that. Let's just say we're doing our flamingo walks, where we walk around the room on one leg to show our balance. Now, tech time, I would break this into 3 sections, 3 different elements. So let's just say tiptoes, let's say jumping, and let's say flamingo walks, so balance, standing on one leg while walking. You want those 3 things to happen 3 times each. So 3 times 3. And I'll explain what I mean. So I would have them seated at their base, so either on their spots or the stage or a wall. And when the music is played, they are to get up and do one of these technical drills around the room. And once the music stops, then they have to get back to their spots or their base. Now, I wouldn't spend more than like 30 to 40 seconds with the music because then they'll just start disconnecting. As soon as you hit the music off and they run back to base, they settle, you wait for them to all be seated and focused, and then you can go again with the next one. This is really fun because it's basically gamified tech drills. It's super duper popular when we do classes, and it's super easy for a teacher to deliver as well. So it's setting the example for them, and then most of the kids, you'll definitely find in this age group, some kids will be like, oh, I can do that, that's easy, and then they'll show the rest what to do, and then up they go. Okay, let's get into our cake. I call it cake because it's one of the most fun parts of a dance class, and this is where you bring in props. Props are so important for this age group. One, because as soon as they have a prop in their hand, they move their body in ways that they never moved them before, because they're having to move something to a certain position and do certain things, circles or ups and downs, shaking, etc. Ribbons. Like if you think about the way that they would move their hand using a ribbon, they wouldn't connect that if they were just using their hand on their own. It's quite amazing what props actually do for them. Also, it's really, really good to have conversations about the color of the prop, our manners as we're receiving the prop from the teacher or whoever's delivering the prop. Oh, thank you so much for this. And also not being fussy about things as well. So taking the color that you're given as well, because this age group will request colors. And unless you have the exact color that they want, which we never do, it can be quite tricky. So we tend to have that conversation with them if there are kids that are like, yeah, but I want a green one. It's like, well, I've got a blue one and I've got a yellow one, and you're going to have whichever color I give to you, and that's going to be okay because it is 2 minutes of your life and you're just doing a dance with it. So generally, if you have that conversation with the kid, they're fine. So we tend to kind of to deliver that way. Props is almost like a gift in class, and kids are so much more attentive when a prop's involved as well. It's like they've just been handed some magic in the class, and now they're going to be able to use something tangible that they can actually hold on to. So props is fabulous. We've got some great prop dancers that we use, and the props that we do use for this age group are ribbons, scarves, beanbags, pom-poms, shakers, and we also use wands as well. I think we use tambourines, but pretty much you can use almost anything. It's just how you're going to use it. So with props, again, if you've got a nice repetitive piece of content that you can put on, or you've developed something yourself, you want to make sure that it's only got like 4/8 to 6/8 of movement that you can repeat so that the kids can hold on to. Especially with props, it's nice to keep it quite easy as far as like height changes and turning around and shaking the thing, so they can kind of enjoy the actual movement of the prop as well. Okay, so we're getting down to the last part of it. We've got 2 dances that we want to achieve in this class. We're being ambitious. We're going to do 2 dances over 10 minutes. So Again, these dances need to be nice and repetitive and easy. I wouldn't go for more than 4 to 6 eighths of easy, very clear change in height, maybe a turnaround, very visual movements like up and down, side, in, out, showing them and then delivering it with the music. Music, you'll always get lots of buy-in because it's lots of fun with the music, and then repeating that for the second dance as well. So keeping it nice and quick for the 2 dances. What you don't want to do is use content that is more of a brain break, where basically there's like 20 different things that they have to do, because the idea about this is that they retain the movement so that if you did put that piece of music on, they could do it without you or without the visual in front of them. They can start to retain some of the movement. And they can't do that if there's just too much to do. So keep it nice and simple for that. Now we are up to 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes of a class. Last 5 minutes, let's insert a little bit of joy and let's have a game. Games are so good, especially dance games. 2 of the ones that we use all the time are musical statues. This group loves them. So obviously playing the music and then stopping, and then they have to freeze in their position. Also, yes and no game is lots of fun as well, where everyone is seated, and then we ask questions like, are you wearing blue? And if they are, then they get up and dance. That one's lots of fun as well. That's a pretty solid dance class. Now, if you wanted to cut that down, you could totally cut that down. Maybe cut one of the dancers out. You could even cut some of the tech time out if you only had like half an hour to give. But you can definitely play with that. And this kind of structure works for us every single day. So it can definitely work for you. Those are our classroom hacks for 4 and 5-year-olds. Now remember that we do this every day when we go into schools, and we also run a dance studio here as well. So these are things that we put in practice. They're not things that we're making up for YouTube, but I hope they help with you in classroom. And I'd love to actually know if they did or not. So yes, best of luck, and see you in the Moververse.